All right, so we are recording, and I'm just going to share my screen. And apologies to you, Harper, you're not allowed on social media because the government decided you're too young.
Yeah.
But maybe you can prepare for later. Okay. So, social media mastery. Now, I did just want to highlight this presentation tonight was created with a single prompt from the content on AskBees. So all the material and knowledge came from here. And I just connected to this via Claude and said, write me this presentation. And it did so fantastically. Just went boom, done. So yeah, don't think that you have to do PowerPoint anymore. You don't have to spend hours and hours writing these things. Just write down your content and get AI to do it for you. I'm going to talk through why I think social media is so important moving forward. In the era of AI, we are essentially commoditizing knowledge. And so in the future, the value of your knowledge is going to go down. And there's not necessarily a guarantee that your skills in a job are going to be as useful in a company or an organization. Now, the reason I say that is because I think a lot of roles that are just process driven are going to become less valuable, and therefore there will be less jobs in the world. Having said that, I think that there's going to be huge opportunity for individuals to have niche businesses and services. But if you never learn how to master communications or getting attention, you're going to find it much, much more difficult to find clients and find opportunities. So I'm going to tell you a story. So my start on social media was extremely intentful. It wasn't something I randomly started. It's something I started to reflect on really deeply. And essentially what I set out to do was to learn, it's going to sound ridiculous, to learn persuasion and hypnosis. So there are individuals on this earth that are, by definition, really, really good at persuading people and gaining power over other people. Peter Thiel would be one of them. Elon Musk would be one of them. Donald Trump would be one of them. Bill Clinton would be one of them. You know, Tony Blair would probably be one of them. You know, there's these group of charismatic leaders, whether you like them or hate them, they garner an audience, they garner attention, and they seize power. And so what I did was I used to observe Donald Trump before he was president. And I don't know if any of you remember this, but there was this controversy over a thing called the birther movement. So Donald Trump started talking like he said Barack Obama wasn't born in America, and he had to, prove he had a birth certificate to provide the birth certificate. And that went on for years. And when I saw him doing that, I instinctively knew he was running for president. And the reason I thought he was running for president was he was pacing and leading the Republican Party so as that he could win the early primaries to then go on to win the presidency. Now, why I'm telling you that story is I started following a guy called Scott Adams. Now, Scott Adams was the creator of Dilbert, the comic. And for many, many years, he used to lampoon and make fun of 80s corporate culture. And his work was essentially persuasion. The reason you found his work so enjoyable and so funny and so emotive and entertaining was he was essentially using hypnosis techniques. And so he predicted Trump would be president. And he sort of did, I'm not going to say he did after me, but he started talking about it after I'd already done it. And I actually put a bet on, and I'd never gambled before. I never even had a betting account. And I bet, I think it was $100 at 500 to 1 that Trump would be president. And that went on to be like a $50,000 win on the betting, which was interesting. But what I decided to do was I decided to find a community in Australia that was quite large. And the one I picked was No Need for a 79, which was a four-wheel drive sort of parody shitposting site. And I thought to myself, how can I become the king of this group in about 3 weeks? And so I mapped out all the persuasion techniques that I'd learned from Scott Adams and from the President Trump and everything that I was observing in that space. And I designed a series of posts to post into that group that at the time had about probably 70,000 people in there. And I reckon literally within 3 to 4 weeks, I was the most notorious person on that page. I had probably 50 memes made about me. I had videos made about me. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And it was just technique. It was just a series of posts that I knew that would take the audience on this sort of emotive journey. And I used every trick that I could. And this was sort of pre-AI, so I didn't really have any AI tools at this time. But if you had the AI tools now, I think you could do it even better. And then that's what started me on my Tim Beaver's 4x4 reviews page. And then that's grown out into, you know, most months on that page, I'll probably make somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. I obviously have to pay tax on that, but it's kind of, you know, if you have a $4,000 month, I mean, I used to earn that as a senior consultant at Deloitte, and so it's nothing to be sniffed at. It's actually like a real second income. And I think the really cool thing about it is if you ever lost your job, it would be a backstop. So you've actually got a little bit of money there if you ever lost your job. But also, it's probably a great asset to have as you head towards retirement. I mean, I'm not near retirement age, but imagine being retired and having that extra income. I think that would be really cool. So tonight I'm going to talk you through how I think you should think about social media, and if you want to do it yourself, how you could go about planning it out. Okay, so if you can get attention, you can change your life. Social media isn't just dancing teens and memes. It's a global stage where one post, one video, one killer insight can build your brand and open doors that traditional systems would knock you back for years. And in an AI world, obscurity is a bigger threat than failure, I think. So if you think about my audience, I've got 35,000 in my audience. This month, I've had a really, really bad month, and I've had 5.5 million unique viewers. Most months, that's somewhere between 12 and 20 million people that are hitting my page, and that's from a 35,000 follower. The thing I'll also say is the number of followers you have is not necessarily a determinant of how big your page is. There are some pages that are quite small that have massive viewers. It's just kind of like, I think Australia as well has a real culture of not following. It's kind of like they just don't do it for some reason. It's like they're giving something to you, so they hold back. And also all the social media platforms now are basically judging the content based on its engagement rates. And so even if you're a small page now, you can get a run really, really easily. And just think about, if you have a question or you want to build a community or you want to put an idea out in the world and bounce off someone, if you have that audience, you've actually got the ability to kind of float balloons and try new things and see what's out there. If you don't have a social media audience, you just don't have that. It's just not available to you. So that is something that's also of value. So the three main reasons social media is power. It gives you the ability to access people all around the world at any time on a level playing field, regardless of background and age. So last year, I remember the Casey Council. I don't know if anyone saw that online. They basically brought out new rules that said, you're not allowed to have an unregistered car on your property. You're not allowed to service your car on a property. They had all these draconian rules, and it was going to cost you $400. Now, apparently, and I don't know the full story, but apparently that law was passed by the state administrators in about June of the year before. And the councillors who got in, that council was under administration. That council got back in, and they thought, well, these are the rules, so we've got to put them up. So they put them up. It was like the day before Christmas. And someone in my audience sent me the website, and I didn't actually really do anything. All I did was, copy and paste the rules and just said, look, this is complete BS, or something along those lines. And I said, oh, I'm glad they're doing this because this is going to draw attention to them, or something like that. And that post, I think, blew up and had about 27 million views. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And people just went nuts. It just went absolutely everywhere. I think that post went all around Australia. And then a whole bunch of other people got involved as well. And then I actually had the mayor of the council writing to me at about probably 11 o'clock on New Year's Eve. And he was trying to damage control and saying, oh, stop talking about this, blah, blah, blah. And I just said to him, I said, look, mate, I haven't done anything. All I've done is pointed out your law, and the public's not happy about it, so you're going to have to sort it out. But then I sort of thought, well, this is sort of getting out of hand. So I really stepped back. I didn't sort of incite anything or get anyone to do anything. But others took up the fight. And I think the first council meeting, they had about 600 or 700 people turn up, and they had to shut it down, and the police were there, and it was real chaos. And then by the end of that year, like, they had completely removed those laws completely. They had rescinded them. They had got rid of them. They had won. And I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't for social media. That sort of really opened my eyes. And the thing is, you don't actually have to be political to throw your weight around online. You could just say, you just point something out or observe something and encourage an audience to make fun of that thing, and it can really go your way very powerfully, but you have to be persuasive about it, right? And that comes to the second point. It's a persuasion lab. So it's an ideal space to hone communication and persuasion skills to target millions of people or single individuals. So I would say the techniques I've learned on social media in terms of communication, I now almost natively use to present these videos. I use it at work. I use it in general life. Like, if you have the ability to talk to audiences, it actually gives you a different understanding of communication. And I think that makes you much better in your career. So I think that is a powerful thing. And, social media is also a 24/7 thing. You can test ideas, you can build networks, you can start businesses. And you can do all of those things really, really rapidly if you know what you're doing. And I think if I really want to build another page, I could probably build one really quickly now. And I could also build a different one. I mean, I really haven't invested that much into Ask Beeves, but that page there is about 1,000 followers already. Now, one of the things you've got to learn about social media is if you start a page of any kind, the average growth rate of a page is about 25 followers a month. So if you think getting to 35,000, that is actually a real achievement. Like, it's very difficult to grow a page that big in the modern era. And that's really because when you're a young page, they want you to pay for reach. That's Facebook's business model. But once you have a proven track record of a massive audience, you actually become valuable to them. They'll actually pay you a lot of money to post. because you're obviously keeping them, their viewers entertained. People come back to see your stuff, which is why they're giving you a cut to keep posting. So they're incentivizing you to work on their platform. So the feed of any social media is digital real estate. Okay, so to get reach, to get 100,000 views, I mean, most days when my page is performing well, I'll get, like a normal post, I could probably get 80 to 100, 150,000 viewers every single post I put up. And that's all in the back end. It's really wild because sometimes you'll only get like 10 comments and it goes out to like 80,000 people. But you'll kind of tell pretty early whether something's going to go or not. And I do think that it's kind of a bit like a poker machine. Sometimes it just goes off and it's no rhyme, no reason. I've posted certain posts where I haven't understood why it goes off. So I think there is some random nature in it. But yeah, so one thing you really should do if you're going to set up any page on any social media platform is don't set it up without a real strategy behind what it is and what it isn't. And I've seen this all the time. I've seen people build groups. Now, I think groups are really awesome if you want to get known online, but you have no followers. So a group is like a free kick. The only problem with a group is there's always these people called admins, and they're power-hungry morons usually. And so if you actually start getting popular, they'll try to monetize you, they'll try and create you, and it just ends up. That's what happened at No Need for a 79. The guy thought I was getting too big and too popular, and so he actually kicked me out of the group for no real reason. But I just thought, well, I don't want to be controlled by someone else, so I just said screw this, and I basically left. But the groups are a great way to get known, and so, but this is like a democracy, right? You have no control. It's not a business. You can't monetize a group. So even if you build one that's massive, you've got 100,000 people, you're not going to see 50 cents. So I wouldn't use groups. I think they're a waste of time. I think most people are better than that. You want to be able to control your own. Now, there's a second thing. There is the concept of a page. That's the thing that you need to build. But you want to set it up as digital creator at the start. If you set it up as a business page, Facebook thinks you're a business. They think you're selling something, and it's really hard to get growth. But if you designate it as a creator page, they're going to think you're a creator. But that is actually really important, that if you're going to do this one, don't just start flogging things or selling things. The algorithm is watching, and if you're trying to sell stuff, on a Facebook page explicitly, or you put a link, or you try to sell something that's not through Facebook's Shopify type setup, they're going to bury your content, and you're never going to grow. So I would actually sort of try not to sell anything for ages, and if you are going to try to sell something, put it on your website and make content about it, but make the user go and find the product. Don't go, here's a product, go and buy it. If you do that, you're kind of going to be screwed. Even putting like dollars and numbers in posts can really screw them up. That used to be really bad until I think AI sort of figured out what's selling and what's just numbers. And so a really good strategy, I think, is to use groups to build some sort of initial recognition, and then you get that to build a page, and you'll get your first users, and then you kind of build up your page over there. Now, starting a page is like the most lonely place in the world because you're not going to get many views, you're not going to get many clicks, nothing's going to happen for ages, but you just have to keep posting. If you don't, it's never ever going to grow. So most people give up. Now, so that comes to the rules for thriving. So consistency. You have to do at least one high quality content piece per day. I always find posting first thing in the morning when people wake up is a really good time because most people get up and look at their phone. So if you've got one bang at like 6:30 a.m., you're guaranteed all the people that wake up and look at their phone are going to see your stuff, and that kicks off your day. It sort of wakes the algorithm up. It gets your momentum going. I typically break the day up into sort of morning tea, lunch, Mid-afternoon's usually a quiet one. 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock. You can post that much every day. They're not going to penalize you for posting like that. What I would say is, though, don't post things in quick succession unless the audience is all there engaging. So if you've done a post and there's tons of engagement, you can do a follow-up one. But on the whole, Facebook doesn't want you to hog the timeline. So unless the audience is really there, if you post 2 in succession, it's really going to tank. The only exception I'd say to doing that is if you've got some sort of story arc where the interconnection between multiple posts is extremely funny. If you're doing that, it doesn't really matter if you have a bomb post, because people just want to see the story arc and they'll be engaging with your content. So that's sort of like the way I think about consistency. Quality, there's a few tricks here. The algorithms are looking at the metadata of your images. So if you just download a picture off the internet, it knows it's a picture off the internet. So the best thing to do to get around that is to screenshot the picture and to format it into like a correct size. It might be a Facebook size or something like that. If you just take pictures off the internet, you're going to get penalized. I have found recently that the AI content doesn't seem to run as well as photographic content. That's not to say it's bad, but it's sometimes, if you're making a joke or something, AI is really good because you can kind of tell a story through the image, but I'm finding the analytics aren't as good. The other thing about content is that the number one thing I think people are missing is written content. Everyone's focused on the reel, the video, the story, but I actually find written content is really powerful because the algorithm is looking at the time that the person is consuming with the content meaningfully. And if you have a long post that the person is carefully reading through by the way they're scrolling, the algorithm will say this is actually a desired piece of content. So it will really push that to the top. So writing, and I actually think people enjoy reading funny things. I think pictures are kind of neat, but in a world that's saturated with pictures, I think content's good. Posting text on its own rarely does well. In fact, I think in mine, it goes about 17 times less. So I'll only use a post like words if I want to kind of announce something. So if I want to announce something and I want to be really clear and I don't want it to be confusing, I will post with just words. But those aren't really designed to run. I know they're not going to get a lot of views, but they're there kind of for the storyline. And the platforms do like variation. So, you know, I'd say if you're going to use video, almost universally on Facebook, I wouldn't put a video up longer than about 38 seconds. Basically, if it's longer than that, and if you're going to post something that's 38 seconds long, you almost need to be guaranteed that the person's going to watch the whole thing. If the person doesn't watch the whole thing, like if it's content that doesn't draw the attention for the full 38 seconds, it's going to tank. But if it is something the audience does watch to the end, there is a high probability that piece of content will go viral. So if you do want a piece of content to go viral, you essentially want something that hooks the person straight away, has a period of time where they keep watching, and then there's something of interest at the end that keeps them there. So now trying to recreate that and do that consistently is super, super hard, right? And I would also say on social media that the amount you earn off social media is 100% not proportionate to the amount of effort you put in. So some people, you know, go and do videos and they spend a lot of time editing and doing content and all this stuff. And I just think it's an unprofitable method of social media unless it's like there's a lot of investment value behind it. So big YouTube channels that have got a lot of followers, you know, I can understand why they'd go and spend all the money filming and doing all that sort of stuff. But in the early days, you're probably almost guaranteed to just lose money for ages. So I wouldn't see social media as a business for a while. probably something you're going to lose. I would probably more focus on the audience and the connectivity. Now, mastering engagement. So you get paid to post, but you also get paid to interact. So a good technique is to bang a post up there, and then as soon as the early comments come in, respond to them. If there's engagement and someone, so if you have like a 4-question, backwards and forwards with someone, that will get the algorithm going, and that will get you some traction. I wouldn't overpost unless the content is cohesive and gaining traction. That's what I was talking about before. A second one that I think Australians do terribly bad is involving other creators. So if you have a reasonably sized audience and another creator has a reasonably sized audience, and you cross post with those people, both audiences will be exposed to your content, and their people will see you and you will see them. And so the top creators in the US typically have they might have a number of pages across a number of people, and what they'll do is they'll collaborate and try to blow up each other's page. In Australia, it's almost like everyone thinks they're in competition and they won't talk across lines, and they are utterly screwing themselves. They should be cross-posting. And it's really quite shocking. Like, you think, okay, so you get to like 30,000 followers, and then you tag someone else, and then they just don't respond, or they don't do anything, which is really kind of stupid, I think, but is what it is. Using emotional vectors. So it sounds crazy, and I think there's another slide in here that talks to the different emotions humans can feel, but pretty much every one of my posts is designed to evoke some sort of human emotion. So it's either laughter, happiness, curiosity, learning something, they love something, they have pride in something, or it might be anger, sadness, nostalgia, inspiration, belonging. They're all kind of things that people care about. And if you use those in combination, or you I guess you attack orthodoxy, or you show vulnerability that they feel that they can throw back at you, you're going to get more engagement. Okay, there's some things I write that I know when I write it, I know 50 people will be triggered and they'll all write something about it. And it actually becomes almost predictable what's going to happen, and they cannot help themselves. Even if you tell them what you're doing, they can't help themselves. And that's where that persuasion filter comes in. So combining emotions. So blend triggers for maximum effect. Anger over lost nostalgia. Celebrating a win while teaching others. The most powerful posts hit multiple emotion notes. So it might be, nostalgia about the old world, and then anger at the government for doing something, but then you make fun of someone about some new rule. It's ridiculous. So you sort of got humor. Do you see how you're sort of double bouncing their emotions? You sort of hit them from multi angles, and that works really well. The only thing I'll say about that, though, is you don't want to overdo. You might be really, really good at triggering people, but if you do it too often and you're too intense, it actually turns people off and they disengage, and they literally, their minds blow up. So I would say you need to sort of alternate between the hard hitting psychological stuff and the kind of just the fun, humorous stuff, because you will really piss people off. Yeah, so the different kinds of things you can think through. So jokes, funny videos, uplifting stories, overcoming adversity. That brings out joy and humor in people. Curiosity is about teasing about an event or posing a question or being vulnerable and hint at outcomes, good or bad. Getting people curious will get a lot of engagement. Teaching. So this is why I do Beavernomics. It's kind of like looking at economics and what's going on in the world. And if you are authentic in your thoughts, and if what you say does turn out true, then people then start looking into what you're saying. And a lot of people also, if you tell someone a fact, you're also going to get 50 people that tell you you're wrong. That's good engagement, right? So sort of keep that in your hand as well. Like, it's fine to sort of teach someone something, but you might sort of do it a bit wrong, or you'll throw something in there that triggers someone to kind of and even in the teaching run, sometimes bragging about being a good teacher can get people offside, and they'll engage with that as well. Relationship wins and failures. A story arc from failure to success is particularly powerful. So this is the love and pride emotional thing. So on Simba's for reviews, I often say I'm fat. I say, I drove the old XJ. When things break, you squalor in your failure. People cannot help that stuff. They love failure. They love making fun of people. So give them fodder, and they will make fun of you. And some of so that content just really builds, it really builds engagement. So that's a good one. Anger and guilt, authentic vulnerability. So if you stuff up, say you stuffed up, say you're scared, share a frustration or something that you're vulnerable about. That's another one you can tap into. Like, it might be something's happening in your life and you screwed up and you made a mistake and you got a fine or something like that. If you can communicate that to the world, people will engage with that content. And another particularly powerful one is nostalgia. So, we used to be a manufacturing nation. Now we're not. The community really sucks now. People don't work well together. McDonald's is no good now. I think I did one the other night about how hopeless the girls were loading up the McDonald's. People always want to sort of go to nostalgia and belonging. They'll always engage with that. And as I said, if you can sort of match a few of these. Now, I don't really write any of my content with AI, really. Some of my financial ones, I get it to help me sort of structure my thoughts. But if you were using AI, you actually could use AI to tap into this if you're not as good at this, and you could get it to craft certain things. So you could even use this content to go up and say, hey, I want to write a post that's going to hit all these things in different combinations, and you'll find that you can get pretty good outputs. This one I cannot say enough. On my page, I actually believe the comments are the show. It's not the actual post. So the post is like the fuel to get people going. And then it's all about the comments. That's where the funny content comes in. And so you have to work with your audience, right? If you're not willing to engage with your audience, you're not going to go as far. And you've actually got to be a bit tough about it as well. So one cool thing you can do is when someone makes a comment that's good, acknowledge it and thank them. And they value the recognition. So every person that you can kind of respond to and say, hey, you're right, or that makes a lot of sense, I didn't know that, thank you somehow that contribution, that person's probably going to become an advocate for you. And so that is like a free kick, right? So if someone comments and it deserves a compliment, just compliment them. There's a lot of merit in that. The good faith correction. So if you are wrong about something, there is two ways of playing it. You can just bloody-mindedly not accept what's going on, and that will drive a lot of engagement, because if someone has proved you're wrong and you turn around and say, no, you're still wrong, and you just have a silly argument with them, that will keep things going. But another really good one is if you did a big, long post about something, you could actually put an error in that content, and then people will point it out, and then what you do is you admit it. So audiences respect honesty. That's another way to connect. So if you stuff up, say I stuffed up, highlight the person and compliment them. That creates a triangle, like a connection. You will see in comments baseless attacks as well. So you really have an option here. Now, sometimes these can be actually quite nasty. Sometimes they could even be like almost legal threats. Like sometimes people go really hardcore on these baseless attacks. Most of the time, ignoring it is probably the best solution. So, like, people put stuff out into the world, they'll write a comment. You don't know what's going through their mind. Sometimes people write really weird things that are kind of concerning, even. But they really don't affect you. They just sit there, right? They put it there, and they're usually amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. So usually you can just ignore it, and it will sit there, and it will basically get forgotten. If it is something that is offensive or something that you think is not great for the rest of your audience, like you just think, no, I don't want to be associated with that. It's clever to just hide the comment. Now, the cool thing about hiding the comment, don't delete the comment, just hide it. Because if you hide it, no one else can see it. You won't be able to see it. And the person that sent it won't be able to see that the comment has been hidden. They will see the comment on their own line, but they won't see that they've been deleted, if that makes sense. So that is a good technique. Now, I don't really censor anyone. The only time I would hide a comment is if someone said something like just really tacky, or like one of the isms, or it's just offensive and it just doesn't have a place there, or the person's just really stupid. Sometimes it's good just to get rid of it. The other thing you can do is, if you've got this baseless attack, is you can just respond generically like, thanks for the comment. That will just drive them nuts. Or you say noted, or just respond with no real barb. Another funny one, this is like if it's just a bit like, it's not really a bad comment, it's just off. Sometimes I just write like, you're wrong, but don't explain why they're wrong. That'll drive them nuts too. They'll start talking and they'll end up in this big debate with themselves. But what I would say on social media is never attack a person, only ideas. Okay, so I have a rule on my page, and you'll notice this. I never ever attack a person, and I never attack a company or like a small business. So, and I don't even make claims about things. So if I was to say, I don't like the 79 series, I'll just keep it conceptual. I don't like it because it's old, or, I don't like it because I think, there'll be some characteristic about it I don't like, but I don't make any kind of false claims, because what you don't ever want is someone to get really pissed off and then come and sue you, or do legal action, or threaten you with legal action. Or you just need to be able to say, like, if you wind back time, you haven't attacked anyone, and you don't know the mental stability of people either. Like, someone might attack you and they might be having this really dark, dangerous time, and you might be having fun, but they don't get it, or they, they're not really cognitively that bright or whatever. And so you don't really want to be the guy that sets them off and they go and do something silly, or, so I just think it's not good to attack people. Even if they attack you, just let it go through the keeper. And then memeing at your own expense. So sometimes if someone says something to you, save it and repost it to on yourself. Self-mockery generates massive engagement because most people can't handle it. Most people will never start a social media page that's any good because they can't handle the reputational damage they think it's doing to their own name or brand. But if you're willing to do that, that is a massive advantage you have over other people. And the crazy thing about social media is, if you can architect your content so 50% of the audience absolutely loves you and 50% of your audience dead set hates you, you've got a successful social media enterprise. But that requires a bit of self-control, because you're going to cop these baseless attacks, and you're going to cop sort of negativity. And so, your personal brand online is actually really important. And if you want to build a persona online in any sphere, you actually have to have a core philosophy, and you've got to know what your core philosophy is on issues. And you can't really be a weather vane. If you're a weather vane, people, the audience will figure that out. They'll figure out you're a fake, and they will just push you around, and you'll never get anywhere. So you need to be able to stand up for yourself. So you need to be a bit tough. You need to actually do what you believe in and how you respond. So I typically am absolutely fearless on this one. So if someone says something really dumb, I'll never attack the person, but I will attack the idea back. And I will counterpunch every single time. And it doesn't really matter what kind of reputational blow up it causes. I have to maintain a persona. If I don't, the audience figures you out real quick. You have to figure out what public weaknesses you will let people in on. So again, vulnerability in a character online is really important. And being vulnerable is a really, really powerful psychology. But to be able to be to be vulnerable, like, you actually have to have a strong kind of set of self-worth before you're able to do that. Because, sometimes you can put yourself down, but if you actually believe it, you could actually kind of harm yourself. And you also need to know what your in-jokes are with your audience. Like, what are the things you're going to say that your long-term audience knows that maybe new members don't get? And so that becomes a funny sideshow as well. Like, sometimes in my persona of Tim Beaver, like, I brag heaps, but I do it in a self-deprecating way. And then you'll get a new audience member that just comes in and goes, "Oh my God, you're a freaking idiot," whatever. But the other audience finds that hilarious, right? So that's kind of the in-joke. So, successful creators aren't trying to please everyone. They have their own voice. They figure out their narrative and decide the battles they'll fight on. So you can't be weak. So if you bend every time someone attacks, no one will respect you. The best moments are when the whole world believes one thing and you tell them they're wrong. So I do that all the time on, if you think of the orthodoxy around property or fuel, or, I've just got some EVs. Those EVs, I can tell you, I will make more money on social media than I'm paying on the leases of those cars. Literally having the content will make me money. So I've essentially invented the perpetual machine on those. Audiences do respect conviction more than someone who folds. And if you do fold, own it. People will laugh, and that's the secret, and that's your secret connection. So yeah, so sometimes you can just blow up and say, "Oh, I've completely screwed up. This is a complete mess." That will be hilarious to a lot of people. So, yeah, that's that. Staying safe online. If you are out in the world and you have a lot of followers, you are going to become an attack vector for scams. So be careful what you put out there. I wouldn't use a personal email. Like, I have an email on my social media that is set up specifically for social media. I don't put anything else through that channel. So even if that was hacked into or whatever, I would say make sure you use all the security tools, two-factor authentication, codes, everything like that. People are going to try and steal your identity. The other thing I would say is pay the money to Facebook to get blue tick. That actually gives you a lot of protections, and it gives you like a telephone line to Facebook if anything goes wrong. So it's kind of like an insurance policy to have that. And if you do, for some reason, get on the wrong side of the Facebook police, that's a good thing, because you can ring a person and talk to them about it. I would say in the comments, in the DMs, I would just assume every single DM you get is a scam, or it's someone trying to do something. I mean, I get messages from all sorts of people asking really weird things. And I'd also assume that the audience is trying to set you up. So I wouldn't have a private conversation with someone over a DM with anyone I don't sort of really know, because whatever you say in there could become public. They could just screenshot it and take it out there. So be careful with that. They'll try and get you. Location discipline. So I would only post events after you've left the place, because if people know where you are, like if you're camping or something and you're posting stuff of where you are, you don't know who's going to turn up, and that can be a pain. And I'd also say, have some boundaries with your audience, because a lot of people will just message you and talk to you, and I'd say be warm to them, but maintain some distance, and some people you'll meet who you might end up becoming friends with, but you can also just end up with real sort of cranks who want a friend and you know, they don't stop messaging, and they just become annoying. So just be careful with this one as well. Avoid the monetization traps. Okay. You can make a lot of money off social media without selling anything. And I do really believe that as soon as the audience thinks you're just there to sell something, they automatically turn off. Okay. So you've got to really decide, are you a business trying to sell stuff and it's just a marketing vehicle, or are you a creator that's trying to provide some sort of value to your audience in terms of entertainment? And I would say the two things really struggle to go together unless there's entertainment value in what you're offering. And so, you know, I've tried selling t-shirts and selling hats. I reckon I lost more money trying to do that than I made. It just literally is not worth your time. People, and the other thing is, people don't have a lot of money. They don't want to buy your shit. Even something like this course, you know, like if I tried to monetize this, I reckon I'd get no one. Like, I'm struggling to get people for, like, it's great that you're all here, but like, if you think of the number of people I've got and the hit rate, like I've got like probably 90 emails. Of those, probably, I don't know, 20 turn up, you know, on and off. There are a lot of people apparently watching the videos. My analytics are going really, really well on the other side. I think Sunday nights is difficult for some people. But yeah, like, monetizing is not easy. People don't have a lot of cash. But I would actually look at your network as, you know, like, I might meet someone by doing this work, of someone who wants to build something, and I'll go and actually build a real business with them. That's probably more interesting as an angle to go and make money on social media than trying to sell, you know, a product or service to the audience, if that makes sense. Sometimes people will reach out and they want to like promote some product. I actually just tell them no. I have like Amazon sellers, they come and they say, oh, you know, if I've got this battery or whatever, and if you just give me a plug, I'll pay you X amount. Usually it's just a scam. They just want your bank details or something like that. I usually just say flat out no, because I don't know them. I don't know the product they're selling. If I promote it and then it ends up as scam or it's dodgy, you know, or it's a poor product, I'm just going to cop it. So I just don't bother. Yeah. Choose your battleground. So these are the biggest social media platforms in the world. And if I was going to go through them, I like this one the best for me. And the reason is because there's one reason: it has the laugh feature. And it sounds really ridiculous, but I've actually tried other platforms, and the quality of engagement between you and the audience, this is probably the strongest audience engagement platform. It's also where Australians are, I think. And there's not a lot of corporate crap on here anymore. Like, it's really just Aussies talking shit on Facebook. And it's very engaging, and there's lots of comments. They do have very good marketing tools. It's very easy to engage with the audience. I just think Facebook is number one from that perspective. And you can make good money on Facebook. You're probably going to make more on YouTube, but YouTube is actually super, super hard to grow. YouTube is long form content, evergreen content, and it needs full commitment. So I would say, if you're going to do YouTube, you actually need to invest a lot of time. And you're only probably going to get like one video per week. And so that's like 52 videos a year. You're going to struggle on this platform unless you are working on it full time. I just think the competitive nature of this is too big. This one, though, you can definitely do in amongst a day job. Very easy. I go on a walk every morning, and that's how I produce my content. A lot of people love Instagram. I can't stand it. I don't even bother with it. I haven't even really got an account on it. I have an account just to look at it, but Instagram is great if you're a girl and you want to show skin and smiles, and like, I think this content is awesome if you're just like taking visuals. But again, it's kind of like YouTube. You have to be out in the field taking photographs. They have to be of a certain quality because it's very strict on the quality. and the written content on is not that great, and the engagement mechanisms are not that great. So I think this one is, if you're a photographer and you're out in the world doing a lot of stuff, I think this is good. But I think if you want to engage with an audience, this is better. YouTube, really difficult. I actually use YouTube differently. So these recordings I do put on YouTube now. That's long form content, but I'm usually just basically putting them as a place that links through to my website, and this is where I engage with the audience. So this is kind of like, this might grow. I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably not putting enough, like I'm doing screen captures, and I think the AI would look at that and go, oh, I don't like that. I'd have to put in more effort to get that to grow. TikTok, to be honest, I've never really used it. I've heard good things about it. I've also heard it's hard to make money on, like compared to Facebook. I personally don't think you should try this one and this one, because what happens is your audience gets confused. Where am I finding this person? So I'd pick one. So if you want to be a TikToker, go and be a TikToker. If you want to be Facebook, do Facebook. I wouldn't bother doing both. That's my personal opinion. LinkedIn, I am looking at LinkedIn at the moment as potentially the biggest opportunity in AI ever. LinkedIn is, by its very nature, conservative as hell, because people go on there with their career face. They have their photograph in their suit. They usually just brag about what they're doing, and they really suck up to everyone. I think if you took some of the tactics that I use on Facebook and put them on LinkedIn, and I have tested this, I've put a few sort of edgier posts, absolutely explodes. And as the AI world rolls through, it's going to become clear that a disruption is coming through. But if you're willing and able and have the courage to put disruptive content on LinkedIn that subtly mocks or has a go at the corporate landscape, I think you could get a massive following. And I also think that could generate a lot of work. So if you're saying something that's true but is controversial, I think it garners attention. And remember, to sell in this world, you do not need to make everybody happy. You need to get a percentage of the audience that agrees, that wants to have coffee. And once you have coffee, that's when you do your deals. Okay? So this one, I think, is a massive opportunity. It's just very hard if you have a professional day job for an organization. I think it would be much easier if, you'd start your business and you're going to do it. You sort of made your bed, if you like. So that's one I'm looking at. But obviously that's probably the riskiest, because that's your professional moniker. Whereas I think this is kind of, it's more fun. Now, the one I think that there's huge potential on is X. Now, X is obviously a lot smaller. X is where all the smart people are. I'm going to be honest, it's a global platform. It's probably more US-centric. There's not a lot of content coming out of Australia, but I do think that there's huge potential in X, purely because of the caliber of the people on the platform. So if you want to write good content or articles, I think X is a great platform to look up. X also has Grok built into it. So people are starting to use Grok to find content or find people or find opportunities. I think that that's something worthy of participation in. Yeah, so that's really just what I've just said. Now, some mindsets that you need to think about. You need to separate your personal ego from your social media persona online. I cannot stress this one enough. When you put content out in the world, you are going to get blowback. You are going to get opinions back. And sometimes those opinions will hurt. People will say mean things. People will say nasty things. So you very much have to be able to separate your personal ego from your social media. And you need to know that that comment that's coming through is going towards the social media persona, if that makes sense. So that one's super important. Now, if you master that one also, that's going to give you huge power. And it's going to give you huge power, not just on social media, but in your general life as well. I'm just waiting because this is a massive annoying truck outside. Yeah, so this one is probably the number one thing that I think you should consider. Treat social media as a strategic tool, not your identity. All right, so it's not you that's using it, it's actually a tool. So you don't need to build a page with 35,000 viewers. You could use it to talk to important people, to get in people's inboxes, start conversations. But realize that if the person rejects you at the other end, it's not really you that they're rejecting. Okay. Both positive and negative reactions fuel growth. So if your whole idea is to make the audience happy all the time, you're probably going to do hopelessly at social media. You've actually got to kind of get people negative towards you as well. And you'll find that the debate between them is what drives the growth. So this is important as well. Now, there are exceptions to this, right? You could build a page that's just, happy, and it probably do quite well. But in my experience, it's usually debate that drives growth. Be careful to signal satire or humor clearly, and use but you can use confusion to your advantage, right? So sometimes you can be telling a joke, but people just cannot see it, and they'll come in as if they're not telling a joke. If someone does that, and sometimes they blast you in the comments, they'll come in and go, "Oh, you're just friggin' wrong," and rah, rah, rah. Sometimes I just say to them, "Hey, mate, it's supposed to be satire. It's obviously gone over your head." It's usually older people that do this. They don't think what you're saying is right or whatever, and so they hammer you. So here you want to just tell them that it's actually just a joke, mate. It's not real. Now, direct negative emotions at concepts, never people. I've already been through that one. But yeah, you don't want to basically make a human the center of the power. Now, some people cannot handle this. So you might think, well, I can handle, 35,000 people making fun of me. And that's where it goes to this separating your personal ego. Some people cannot achieve this. So if you direct that full force of that at someone, some people will crack, and you'll end up with like someone who's, crying in the comments. So that's why I never ever do that. I don't direct the power at an individual, because you're going to cop it. And what will happen as well is if you do that, there's going to be a massive percentage of the audience that will defend that person, and they'll make you look like a real jerk. And you are a real jerk. So just be real careful with that one. In terms of content style, everyone says to me, like, "Tim, have you ever learned about paragraphs?" Okay. Short, simple, punchy, singular lines are awesome if it's a longer post. Human beings are crap at reading, and they're crap at reading on their phones, but they, for some reason, love reading if it's just like a little short sentence, one after another. They can absorb it. It's easy to read, and they will persist to the end because it's very cognitively easy. A lot of people aren't very good readers, and they've got very short attention spans. So this one's super important. This one really annoys people. If you notice in my work, I use capitals, bold. I don't put full stops. I start sentences with no capitalization. I'll put capitalization at the end. This here drives some people nuts, which is good because it's engagement. But also you can use it to emphasize the funny parts of a piece of work. And sometimes what I'll do is I will actually design the sentence structures so that I'll purposely put errors at the critical points of like logical inflection, so that the person gets like the sort of the mental image of, oh my God, what's he written? That doesn't make sense, or it's awkwardly worded, with a concept that goes against their beliefs. So you can actually mash, like if we think about before where I was talking about, the emotional vectors. If you have an emotional vector, but at the key bounce point where that emotional vector hits, you actually put a spelling mistake, or you capitalize it wrong, like it literally just bounces their brain and it's quite funny because then it'll just trigger them to respond. So that one's really useful. Intentional errors can provoke reactions and boost comments. So stuff up numbers, put a formula in there that's wrong, make it directionally correct, but just put an error in there. Spell words wrong, spell them ridiculously wrong. That's going to always get a lot of comments. You want to craft posts. Now, Facebook hates if it feels like it's farming for reactions. So you got to be careful with this one, but you want to craft posts with hooks that invite a response. So, I don't know about you, but I think this. The person's going to go, well, no, I think that's wrong. If you put the hook in there, they'll come back. But Facebook, if you sort of ask a question at the end, to hope someone writes back, you don't want to be obvious about it, because Facebook's algorithm picks it up and goes, this person's content farming, we're not going to do it. And also, people don't like predictable. They want to feel like the comment that they say is smart to the context. It's not like they're being invited to comment. If they're invited to comment, they won't comment. Before posting, will this spark a reaction, and why? So sometimes it's better not to post something crappy. Like, you might be better off not to post than to post. So if you have a post that bombs, the algorithm goes, this content's crap, and it sort of slows down. And then you put a winner up there and it blows up. And you put another winner and it'll blow up even more. You put another winner, it'll blow up even more. And eventually, you'll get heaps of engagement. But if you then post something that's crap, again, you'll go back down. It's like blowing up a balloon up and down. So engaging an audience hinges on vulnerability, not perfection, provoke real emotions, ignite conversations, and prompt reactions. That's the game. And again, the reactions and the comments to them are super important as well. Like, sometimes I'm just like, I'm having a busy week and I just don't have time, and I post stuff. And if I don't respond to the audience, I just have a crappy week. It won't go well. The cool thing about social media is, beyond breaking the community standards. Now, before I even started, I would read the community standards inside out and upside down. There's a lot of things you can't do on Facebook as a creator that you don't necessarily know about until you get pinged by it. And if you get pinged by it, it's a real penalty. It takes ages to grow it back. And even sometimes, if you don't think you did the wrong thing, the AI will pick it up and it'll ping you anyway, which is really annoying. So some of the things I would say to be careful of: don't scrub video of other sources, because if that video is anywhere and the algorithm picks up on it, it's going to penalize you. In fact, it will demonetize you. If you just scrape images that are low res, that's not going to work for you. You want to remove the metadata from images. That's so it doesn't know where it came from. So a screenshot of something is better. Obviously, high quality images will do better. So if it's real photos of stuff, it'll do well. I wouldn't be too strict on that. Like, I find some of those fuzzy photos and stuff still do really, really well, depending on the content. But the big ones are, don't swear gratuitously, don't talk about alcohol, cigarettes, don't talk about guns, don't talk about, don't mock genders, or, I never do ism stuff on my page. I do stuff that edges on ism stuff, like it might be just sort of social politics about, you and your wife or something like that. But it's never, I'm never out to offend people. But also, you got to realize as well, you got to understand the audience you have. Like, my audience is probably 93% male. So I'm writing for males. I'm not writing for females. If females come along, great, but my content is for males. And some females really like that anyway. I think they probably respect you more because you are like that. But yeah, right to the audience and the age as well. Yeah, so this is the summary. A lot of people spend a lot of time on social media, but they're not creating. And I think they're actually just massively wasting their time. I personally consume almost no social media. I don't go and look at other pages. I don't spend hours on it, commenting in groups. In fact, I'm a member of no groups. Don't go to any groups. I don't cross-post on anyone's pages. I obviously have a feed that I see, and I see, some creators' stuff that I look at. but creating is my game on social media, and it's making me real income. If I make $3,000 this month, great. Like, it's pays all the groceries and the bills, and they probably very easily pay for a car or two. So the other thing you got to do is you have to set up a business to start social media, so that you need an ABN. So that is an excuse. If you're going to do social media, you have to have an ABN. If you're not willing to do that and not willing to do the accounting, just forget it. It's not going to work. And you want to set that up properly at the start. So yeah, I wouldn't even bother starting unless you're willing to do that. Consistency is king. Post daily. It definitely rewards commitment. So I never miss. If you notice, I never miss a day. I've always got something up. And if you're struggling for content, just go and write. Go and ask Rock. Hey, give me some ideas or whatever. There's always something you can come up with. Emotion drives engagement. So think about what you're posting and why it drives some sort of emotion. Now, your number one emotion might be happiness all the time, and that's good for you. Other people go for other stuff. Comments of the show. Stand your ground. Stay safe. Stay smart. Give and don't sell. Just give value to people, and pick your platform. Don't just try to shoot at everything. Now, I've done a shitload of talking. Does anyone have any questions?
Just interesting, because I spent 10 years in marketing that before I become an electrician, because I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. And I've sort of just been working at a satire page, very similar to the Batuta, I guess. It's sort of always been a great interest for me. When you sort of saying about with your site and, you pick satire, but obviously the engagement you're looking for is people who don't understand that it's satire. That's the engagement, isn't it? That's where the problem kind of lies, I guess.
Well, I think it's at the core of my page is culture. Like, if I was to say what's the one thing I'm talking about, it's culture. Now, it started off in four-wheel driving. Now I would say it's four-wheel driving plus a bit of the Beavernomics stuff, plus a bit of the talking about the EVs and stuff. But it's not really political. It's more like, it's sort of like the punter versus the establishment. That's the kind of frame. And I actually don't even like the Liberal Party. So like, I bag out Chris Bowen, but that doesn't mean I want to vote Liberal, So, but yeah, it's kind of like, you want to give people joy. You want to talk about things that are affecting people's lives, and give them some sort of joy and some sort of connection. But you also want to do it in a way that's going to rev up the audience. And there are some people in the audience that just don't get it, and they're actually the joke. Like, often it's sometimes my posts are designed to get the comments back that make people look like complete Karens, which is then funny for everybody else. So, but my overall intent is not to piss everyone off. It's more to give people an excuse to vent steam or have a laugh, or, find the incongruence of things funny. And sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. But on the average, I think I do a reasonable job at it.
Yeah, I've actually been using Copilot. I found, which is really awkward, that has a much better storyline. It's built a really good storyline about my fictional town, and I sort of tried running it through Claude, but I couldn't get the laugh out loud when I read the stories. I sort of used my father as the content. He's a hive of content, and then I sort of just feed it to Copilot. And it's interesting that Copilot is the one that gives me sort of the loudest laughs when I read the stories. And I guess, I send it to him, and he sort of goes, "Oh yeah, that's a good story." And he'll send it out to 3 or 4 people before he realizes that I'm sort of not taking the piss of him, but I'm just sort of, and I thought, oh, there's something with this. So I sort of just kept going with it. And I'm just sort of trying to work out whether I sort of push to Facebook and, you know, let him sort of let them share their stories amongst their friends, because, you know, I'm not going to say they're boomer orientated, but there's certainly some context in there. And yeah, whether Facebook's the, you know, right thing, or we just sort of just keep writing my stories and just sort of let natural attrition have its place.
Well, I think if the content is excellent, and people find value in it, the page will grow. And so I don't think there's a lot of risk in trying. And the other thing is too, you don't have to monetize. Like, a page won't monetize till you hit 5,000 followers anyway. So there's a long road before you make any money.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'd always find social media, you want to build it as like a mind experiment. It's got to be a hobby first, and you've got to get joy out of it. If you're just like hammering content every day like a marketing manager, you're not going to enjoy it. Therefore, you're not going to connect with your audience. Therefore, you're probably not going to do very well. So if you want to pick like an outlet, but yeah, I mean, if you've got great content and it's interesting and funny and people enjoy reading it, there's no reason why that couldn't grow into something really cool. And I mean, Batuta Aggregate's really good, but like, I quite enjoy that site. Like, I think it's quite funny, but some of their content's not, like, sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. Like, they're not perfect. They're not brilliant. They're just, I think they're just people having a go. And so, but I mean, what's the alternative in entertainment form? I mean, you can watch the ABC. Yep, you go to sleep. You watch Channel 9. Yep, you go to sleep. Like, I just think there's a huge opportunity here for everyday people to connect with audiences. And you've got, like, there's no limit to the connection. You can do video, you can do short things, you can do text, you can write stories. It's a really accessible way to connect with people, and I think it gives them a lot of joy. Like, if I look at the amount of time I waste of people across Australia, like, it's a huge amount of engagement, and that's, I think, a special thing. I think it's a good thing. What do you think, Harper, about the fact that they've banned it for kids under 16? Did you have it before, or?
No, I didn't have it. I don't really care about the ban.
Yeah. You might be a bit young. I think you're about 11, so.
Yeah.
I sort of see where they're coming from with it, but I also, like, I think it's also a place for, like, there is a set of skills on there. And I think if you just blindly consume content, yeah, I think there are negative sides, but there are a lot of, I think, kids on there that are doing a lot of positive things on there as well. And the YouTube one really pissed me off. It's like, what, you can't watch like, the amount of content on AI and different things that's on YouTube, like, to cut that off at kids is just crazy, I think. Considering they can still get on without being logged in anyway, so what's the difference? But yeah, it's an interesting one. The other thing I'll say is, like, don't underestimate the power social media has as well. Like, some of the content I do, like, I look at the analytics and I say, you know what, I just put this idea out in the world. It's a very persuasive idea. It's on some sort of thing on policy or politics or something, and it makes them look like complete clowns. And I think, you know, that went out to like 700,000 people, and I'm like, that must change the way people think about things. Like, if you have a persuasive idea, like, what is power? Power is a persuasive idea multiplied by the number of people that will listen. So there is huge opportunity. And if you look at some of the so-called, you know, right-wing bloggers out there at the moment, they're getting massive audiences. Like, some of their numbers would be higher than, you know, Channel 9 News. So they are influential. They're very powerful. It's a very powerful thing. And I think AI as well, like, if you're not good at persuasion, you're not good at storytelling, or you're not really good at stuff, like, do what I've been doing with my, you know, I think I did a lesson on persuading audiences. Use those tactics and those techniques I've talked through here, and use AI to, like, with Copilot or whatever you want to use, to help you craft your stories. And you could probably, like, do this almost as a hobby. You could probably, like, create a story arc over a week, and just have it all ready to go and just send it out. each day. So you can probably do it all on a Sunday afternoon. Probably automate it. But I personally find if I just use AI, people can see it. Like even like the AI images, people see the AI image and they just turn right off. So I think I probably still will use AI images, but only if they're really, really good or really pertinent or funny on their own merit. They can't just be like a placeholder.
I was going to ask, Steve, do you use AI for like scheduling posting or to like streamline that process at all, or is it just literally you going for a walk every morning and punching out a post and then manually put it up?
No, pretty much every single one of my posts comes from my phone. I've just got a cheap $400 Android phone, and I just bash them out myself. I find like the chaos, it's a creative outlet. And so I think if I schedule them too much or whatever, it's just less chaotic. And I find the best posts come from when my mind is really lucid. So something will piss me off and I'll think about it and then I'll go, hey, there's a post idea in that, and I'll just craft it up. And sometimes I'll use AI just to kind of maybe improve it a bit, but I always add the errors and stuff. Like it's never polished. So sometimes I spend quite a bit of time crafting it so I get the bounces in it. But then, yeah, I just bang it up, and I'm not too stressed. Like I'll generally always do one in the morning, and I'll do more during the day, but I don't get stressed out over it. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Whatever.
And you find the more you do it, the easier it is to do.
Oh yeah, like most posts I do, like even the ones that are really long and complicated, like they take me 2 minutes tops. It's not like I'm writing an essay. It's probably as long as it takes me to type it. And often I don't even proofread it because it's part of the persona, right? So I just smash it out. I know what I'm writing. And then, yeah, it just goes out. And I'd also say that to people too, like the discipline of posting every day actually builds speed, and it builds engagement, and it builds anticipation. It builds engagement, and actually builds like this whole communication skill stack that you don't really realize. Because now when I find when I get emails at work or whatever, I can communicate back like that. And I actually use the persuasive techniques at work, and then you actually get a better result at work. Because if you're learning persuasion, that's a powerful tool, right? And if you get really good at it online, well, then that just flows into everything else in your life. Now, obviously, the style's different because it's a professional setting, but it is a very powerful tool. And even just like taking heat, like I'll put something out in the world and I know I'm going to cop a heap of shit over it. But then like you go into work and you send an email and you're worried like someone's going to get annoyed at something you did. And you seriously just don't give a fuck. Like you actually don't care, because it's like, I can take on 75,000 rabid men, and it's like, someone at work gets tizzied about something and you just don't, it just desensitizes you completely. Like I never, ever, ever log into my social media and feel dread because someone made fun of me or whatever. Like I just could not. It's zero fucks. I just could not care less. And I think that's a superpower. And I reckon if everyone had that in life, I reckon the country would be way better, because when people just wouldn't put up with the shit, when you see stuff happening out there that's just literally screwing everyone over, you just go, nah, that's bullshit. And look at Casey Council. I said it's bullshit. It blew up. It inspired a whole movement of people to go to these council meetings, and then they had to roll the whole thing. Now, I'm sure that was the state government trying to set a precedent to then roll it out to other councils. No, that had to stop. So it did.
And did you? Sorry, I feel like I'm the one asking all the questions. Did you have a topic or a vibe that bombed first before you started on the 79 stuff? Like, did you try doing, basing it on another topic to start with, and you found it bombed, and then you transitioned over to 79, or was the 79 stuff just the first thing you started with?
It was literally the first thing I started. But it was very intentful. So one thing I would say is, if you're going to do social media, don't think, I'm just going to set up a page and start writing crap. Like, you actually need a plan. You actually need like, how are people going to find this content? Why would they care about this content? What's the launch? It's almost like marketing 101. You know, you're going to build some new business. You've actually got to launch it somehow. And the digital sphere is extremely competitive. Like to even get 1,000 followers is a huge achievement on social media. I still haven't got 1,000 people on YouTube. I've tried. It's very difficult. And 99% of people fail. They never get there.
Did you boost any of the first posts, or you just let it happen naturally?
Nah, in my experience, boosting just does not work at all, because people just see like sponsored. It doesn't, like, it's disingenuous. It doesn't really make any sense. I'd say if you've got a group of friends, or if you're in a club, or you've got like, one good thing would be, you know, get 10 of your friends and just say, hey, look, could you just do me a favor? Could you go on this site and just comment and like and stuff my content for the next few weeks? Like that would really help, because if you're getting sort of the engagement and the likes, you know, the thing will slowly grow. But you need some sort of hook. But the other thing too is like, produce really, really, really good content. Like think about your first month as, I'm going to post every day and I'm going to produce a whole bunch of really, really awesome content, and then start cross-posting stuff on other pages so people see your stuff. And then those people will see your page, they'll look at it, they'll see a whole bunch of content. Like you've got to give more than you receive for a long time to get a social media page off the ground. Like it's all about giving to the audience. And I find like, if the content's good, they will reward you, and people will share it. Like, yeah. And sometimes it just might take, you know, I don't think I got monetized for like 12 months. Like it took 12 months to grow it up to enough. I think when I did it was 10,000 followers I needed to get to make a buck. And then it was quite shocking actually at how much money you made after you started making money. Like it was pretty cool. And then it just really took off. And then it was like, you know, sort of, I found it silly money. But then I know guys, like I know one guy in the US, he did video reviews of cars. I think he used to call himself Tommy Gunn. He was pulling 27,000 US a month just doing videos in the United States of reviews of old shitty cars. And it's like, it's absolutely wild. Yeah. So what's that, 40 grand a month or something? But the dude's like quite wealthy now. So I find it harder to get to that stage in Australia, because our audience just isn't big enough. And if you are an Australian creator, like Americans just aren't going to look at it. It's just too far removed. The algorithm doesn't support it.
Have you claimed the Tesla on tax?
Does
it come as a write-off?
It's already claimed on tax. It's a no-bad lease, so no, I don't need to. I can't get tax off. Like I've already got the tax off. It's already 0 FBT. So, but you know, the Tesla, I bought it because it's like, what is it, like a tank and a half of petrol, like just straight down the line. It's really cheap. And I thought if I get a Tesla and start talking about Tesla, like my audience is going to go crazy, and I'll make, you know, I can probably make $500 a month just off that. So, but there's a risk in it too. Like if I talk about too much, people just get alienated and leave. Like the EV content, like I'm literally losing followers every time I post on EVs. People get the shits and leave. So it's a balancing act, I think. I'm quite enjoying it though. It's a fun car. If you haven't driven one, I highly recommend it. Yeah. So it's not for everyone, I don't think, doing social media, but if you do want to do it, I'd give it a go. Like it's been a net massive positive for my life. I would 100% do it forever now. Even if people don't like it, I'll probably keep doing it. So, and you can pivot too. You can change it over time. So, I think it's going to be necessary.
I think probably the biggest challenge to start with is finding that niche that you are passionate enough about to post about. That would be have a big enough audience to be applicable. Like there are some things I really enjoy learning about, but like no one else really cares.
Yeah. But if you think about those, so the way, and I don't have time to do it now, but I might do it another time. Like last week, I did the demonstration of how to find business ideas. You could probably do something like that, build an agent to figure out social media ideas. Now, I think the trick is with social media, you don't want to make it too niche. Like my page is Tim Beaver 4x4 reviews. And then if I write something that's not a 4x4 review, people crack the shits and say, why aren't you doing a 4x4 review? So you kind of do want to make it a bit generic. I find having your name in the title is really useful because it's very authentic. Like if you're willing to say stuff as you, people connect with you as a human. Like if you just have, you know, Acme XYZ page, it doesn't have as much skin in the game if you're not you. It's not your name. So I think, you know, your name something or is an interesting one. It's also, if you look up generic names on Facebook, there are thousands and thousands of registries. Like it's almost hard to get anything unique. So visibility and findability is really important as well. Like if you type in Tim Beaver, all my stuff comes up on Google because there's no other Tim Beavers. So that's something you got to think about as well. But I think like just make sure like whatever you write on social media, you'd gladly walk into HR at work and talk to them about it, and you're not going to get fired. That's really important. So I don't think I'd want to touch anything too. Like I'm allowed to have an opinion on things, but I don't think doing things that are like just not socially acceptable. I think that's not cool. I just don't think you'd want that in life anyway. So be careful with that stuff. I'd say before you send something, think about it. Like, and not only what am I writing and what's my intent, but also how could other people interpret this? Because you might say something. I've had one guy. I said, you remember there was that police officer that ended the Bondi thing, and he didn't get any media, and the other guy got all the media. And I sort of said, well, you know, that's not really fair because he's got $2 million. This is the real, you know, this is the real hero. This is the guy that sorted it out. And I wrote that, and just this guy comes in the comments and just he's like flat out calling me a racist and all this, like he's just carrying on like crazy. I said, mate, there's enough division in the world. Like I'm just making a joke about the guy, you know, the bald-headed copper that sort of sorted it out. I said it was topical news. The photo had just been sort of released on X or something, and it wasn't really out there in the public domain. And I wanted to draw attention to that. I said, that doesn't mean I take it away from the other guy that did his heroic act as well. Like we've all got to come together. So sometimes, yeah, just talking to people helps as well. But yeah, so I wouldn't talk about the war or, you know, Iran or any of that stuff because people just get upset. It's just they get all pissy about it, and yeah. It's you just don't want that. It's just you don't know who's out there or what their intentions are, so it's not worth it. So I think that's it's 9:30, so it's been an hour and a half, but I hope you've got value out of that. I do think LinkedIn's an easy layup at the moment. Particularly if you go to AI, because I think AI is going to be a hot topic. So if you start talking about AI, you'll probably end up with people wanting to have coffee. But yeah, like treat it like a business. Be careful. Do something you're passionate about and give it a go. And the other thing I'd say is like the final thing I'd say would be, don't worry if something bombs. Like there's always the next post. Like you can't really do it wrong. Like you can't stuff it up. You just keep going until it works. And just figure out stuff that you think would be interesting and give people those parameters and I'll put this, that presentation up tomorrow so you can go back and look at it, but you can probably steal some of the stuff in there to figure out what your content strategy could be. Because this stuff, I've honed this over a number of years, and I know what works because I sit and look at the analytics. So yeah, I think there's a formula there you can copy.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed that.
Thanks, buddy. See you, mate.
Thank you.
Ciao.